Hello, hello, greetings, hello, and welcome to the Cloud English Podcast. My name is Luke, and it's great to have you here. I hope you're ready to learn some useful stuff. We have a lot of things planned for today. I'm going to talk through what that is. It's Friday, January 20th, 2041, and it's cold and rainy outside in New York State on the east coast of the United States, where I am. Anyway, so a few things right at the start. Number one, we're going to be talking today about ideas, and of course, that's a little vague, right? That's a pretty general thing. Well, specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about why it's so important to know how to express ideas clearly. And then we're going to be focusing on specifically how to improve your English in ways that most people honestly are not going to do. That's one thing I like to think about and observe in learners is you have really an 80-20 rule of improvement in terms of who succeeds and who doesn't succeed. And it's the people who are willing to do things that most other people are not willing to do who make the most progress. And we're going to be going over many of those things as well. We're going to be looking at some idioms, specifically idioms and phrases related to coming up with insights and ideas. So that should be very interesting. And then we're going to be looking at a video from the World Economic Forum that's been going on recently. And it's actually not from the forum specifically, but one of the concepts that's been out there about it. We'll take a look at that and learn some language from it too. So that's what we've got at the top. If you want to support the channel, there are a few things you can do. So if you're watching the video of this on YouTube or Facebook, you can hit the like button, subscribe. If you're listening, you can follow. And if there's a chance to review it, then give it 5 stars, for example, on Apple Podcasts. If you want, you can join our free English community on Discord. This is essentially just a community, which means it's not about, hardcore learning. It's just a sort of casual, fun place to hang out and have a little bit of a immersion, a little bit of that natural English environment. So you can join the Discord. If you're watching, check the links in the description for where you can listen. If you're listening, if you want to watch, check out the links in the description for where to watch. So there's that. What else have we got? What else? Oh, courses. So I just launched a brand new course about presentations. This is a course about how to improve your English presentations, how to give natural, confident, natural English presentations that are well structured. It's not just about English, it's about broadly how to do a good presentation step by step. It's how long is it? I think it's 4 or 5 hours. It's pretty intensive, so that's something to check out. You can find that in the courses, in the links in the description. What else do we have? Oh, if you want, you can get a free course. That is, I believe, the first link in the description, and you can get 30% off the monthly membership if you would like to do that. That's 30% off the monthly membership every month for the first 12 months. And there will be some new courses up there pretty soon. And I think that's just about it. I had to get up very early for a doctor's appointment. And so I was kind of scrambling to get everything ready for today, but I think we are good to go. And also, if you're watching this live or afterward, one thing that I find to be a good way to process information is just to write something with it. So today we're going to be learning about idioms. We're going to be talking about some useful vocabulary. So make your own examples, and no matter when you're watching this or when you're listening, if you can, pop those in the comments. Just say, here's my examples for a stroke of insight. This is how I would use it. And when you do that, you're practicing and you're putting it out there as well. And so that's what I would recommend, right? Just put it out there publicly. Think of it as, this is my practice, Pop it in the comments. That would be my suggestion. Okay? Okay. And to those joining live, welcome to you as well. If there are any interesting English-related questions about culture, idioms, grammar, phrases, pronunciation, if there are any good questions, I may be taking a few of those depending on our time. So feel free to pop those in the live chat. All right. All right, as Matt McConaughey would say. I believe they call him Matt. I've been playing more with, I've been in the weeds on ChatGPT recently. I've been learning about it as much as I possibly can. And the reason for that is I believe, well, I'll get into specifically why, but I believe these tools are going to become, in the next few years, a big part of life for a lot of people. Or at least it'll be an optional big part of life, and if you're one of the people who know how to use it as part of life, you're going to have a very different kind of life than people who don't see it that way. That's what I really believe that, right? So, periodically I'll be posting. Yesterday I posted a video about emails, how to write emails with ChatGPT emails. And so, check these out. I think English emails, that's a new video, so I'm not sure if it's coming up. Check out that video that's on YouTube. This video covers basically, if you want to correct an email, how do you do that well? If you want to write an email from scratch, how do you do that? And if you want to have a sort of companion who can point things out and tell you what to improve in your emails, how do you get that? So essentially all of the above, and step by step. So feel free to check that out as well. All right. So I think we can get into ideas. As a human interacting with other humans, what we have that helps us get what's in our individual heads to other people is language. So when you communicate an idea to someone and they understand that idea, then things happen. Things can change. And this could be for ordinary things, right? Like, no, put the whites in the washing machine. We're doing the other ones after. Okay, that's a simple task, a daily task. You want to wash all of the white stuff separately. You need to express that somehow, okay? But this goes all the way up to inspiring a bunch of people, to the leader of a company, clarifying a vision, to politicians who can make really good speeches that rally people, that get people to support an idea. So all of this is, number one, ideas, and number two, how we communicate those ideas. The way I see this is that ideas are kind of objects that live in our heads, but they're kind of trapped there, swimming around like little fish in a fish tank. And it's learning how to communicate well that is then what we could call something like modern day magic. I mean, if I say to someone, well, I'll give an example. I was at the hospital today, and I was sitting in a room with my wife, and it was a maternity-related appointment, right? We're planning to have a child later this year, and we didn't know the gender of the baby. And today, the nurse just looked up and said, "Do you want to know the gender of the baby?" So that thing that she thought turned into words that crossed the air, entered my brain, and then caused a series of things to happen. My heart rate increased. I went like that, right? That, and then we got the answer. And that is modern day magic. That is this thing that we do with our mouths, or we do when we write or type. We are creating things in other people's heads. We're asking them to feel a certain way. We're causing them to do a certain thing. We are getting them to help us or hang out with us, or we're telling them how we want to help them, right? All of this, in a way, is like modern day magic. I think it's totally amazing. But then, if we think of it that way, there's way more pressure on being able to communicate well, using language well. And this always comes clear to me when I hear about people's personal experiences. If you hear someone tell a story of something that happened, and they're not really good at articulating their thoughts, expressing themselves, then it's kind of like, well, and then we did, and then we did that, and then we did this, and then this happened, and then that happened, and that's it. That's fine, right? But if you were to compare that and then, let's call it an and then story. If you were to compare the and then story with someone who knows how to craft a story, build up to key moments, cause people to feel emotions, pause at the right times, describe something with vivid detail. After climbing for 6 hours, feeling exhausted, about to give up, like we never worked this hard in our lives, we reached the top of the hill and looked out over the valley, and it brought tears to our eyes what we saw. Then describe that scene. And that's just something I'm pulling out of my head. I'm not saying that's necessarily great, but it's better than, and then we got to the top of the hill, and then we looked at the valley, and then we said cool, and then we went home. Right? There's more if you do it well. So I want to get you to believe that this idea of how you express yourself matters. I want you to be on board with that, and then to figure out what you can do to be better. Because language is the medium, or the sort of the air around us in culture, in our daily lives. That's language. And the better you are at language, the more you can do. Which is crazy. It's really crazy. If you're better at it, you can do more. If you're bad at it, you can't do more. So you have to get good at it. This, I think, when it comes to things like AI, which is becoming a big topic, increases that importance on language, that priority on being able to express yourself well. If you want to know how to talk to the machine, you need to be a very good communicator. If you want to get a great image, if you want to get great results, if you want to write something, if you want to come up with ideas and brainstorm, the better you are at articulating what you want to say, the better the results are going to be. So you have to learn how to articulate yourself. So that's my challenge to you, is to just give you this way of thinking to think about, and then start thinking about, okay, what can I do to be a better communicator? And then once I am a better communicator, or as I improve as a communicator, where will that take me? So start looking at yourself in this way. Start thinking about how you can take steps toward expressing yourself clearly, using language well, and start on the path, right? Start working on it. Start practicing. Start looking for examples. Start finding role models who do it well, and identify what they do well and how you can kind of model what they're doing. Not copy, but model what they're doing. So that's it. That's my spiel on why it's so important to learn how to express yourself well. If you have any thoughts about this, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also check out my full English courses in the links in the description. All right. Now we're going to be going over some specific techniques, specifically for English, right? But in the meantime, I thought one thing that just came to mind as I was thinking about this, and this also ties into my course about presentations, my presentations course, because that course focuses on all of this. How do you express your ideas? How do you communicate them? How do you structure them? How do you create analogies? How do you think of yourself as a storyteller? How do you use classic story elements? How do you do all of this stuff? That course covers a lot of it in depth, quite honestly. So I'm pretty excited about it. But I'm going to just be pulling a few things up. In the meantime, there was a video that came to mind as I was thinking about it that I would like to share. So this is Wittgenstein's concept of the beetle in the box, which I think is very interesting.
Imagine a group of people, each with a box. In everyone's box is a thing they call a beetle. But no one is ever allowed to look in anyone else's box. They can only look into their own. However, they can talk meaningfully about beetles even though they don't know what others have in their boxes, or indeed, if there's anything in them at all. The thing in each person's box is irrelevant to the shared public meaning of beetle. Its meaning is determined by the use people make of the term, not the private something hidden away from view. Whatever is or isn't in each person's box is irrelevant. It cancels out. Many of us think of our experiences as private, hidden away inside us. You can never enter my mind and find out whether your colour experiences are like mine, for example, or whether our pain experiences are the same. You can't see the beetle in my box, nor I the one in yours. Ludwig Wittgenstein used the beetle in the box analogy to suggest that the meaning of sensation words such as pain isn't given by referring to some private, inner, introspected something, a sensation to which you alone have access. In his view, there can't be more to the public meaning of our language than we are capable of teaching each other.
Thank you. I was muted. Apologies for the space. Thank you for catching that. So I think this is really interesting. The books that he's written, he wrote 2 books, Philosophical Investigations and Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus. Is that right? Yeah, Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, I think is what it was. And in the second one, it's really interesting. He even says that you don't even have access, this inner part, you don't even have access to that truly. You have what's called a private language, and the private language is what you use for yourself, right? But so you have then this private language, and then the other part of the language, which is the public language that you use to communicate with others, and they might not necessarily be the same. Very interesting.
And the private something, the beetle, can't have a role in that teaching because we can't get at it.
Yeah, so I think it's sort of an interesting follow-on to what I was saying about how we communicate ideas. It's all just, he calls them language games. We're all just playing these games. When you're teaching, you're in the game of hoping that people, when they hear what you say, they understand it and they're able to process it and somehow then turn that into something they can use. If you're in the game of a conversation, the game might not be to create useful stuff for other people that they can take and use, but might be to sort of bounce things off of another person so that then you can get feedback on what you said sometimes. So each one is an interesting little game that we play, and I've personally found it very useful to think about things in those terms. So welcome to Mirza and Joel, Alejandro, Eddie Weiss, God's Soul. Wow, what an honor. Ingilize, who pointed out that I was muted there for a second, so thank you. So great to have everyone here. If you have questions about grammar and idioms, culture, pronunciation, whatever, let me know. I will do my best to answer a couple questions if they're interesting questions. Joel says, when explaining ideas or thoughts, the weird thing is that in my head I can speak in fluent English. However, when talking those ideas to a conversation, they don't come out that fluent. Okay. So I would encourage you, we're going to be talking about this right now, but I would strongly encourage you to get an outside perspective. When we live inside of our heads all the time, we develop these ideas about ourselves, and those ideas about ourselves are probably not objective. The ideas about ourselves tend to be too easily confirmed. If you say to yourself, I'm good at this, there's no one around to tell you you're not. If it's job related, maybe. If it's connected to your life in some way, maybe. But if it's not, it's very easy to just say, well, okay, I'm good at this. But then if you were to get 5 people who know about that thing around you and say, hey, just give me brutally honest feedback, you might be surprised that what you thought you were good at is not what you're good at. As much as you thought, at least. Maybe you're kind of good at it, but then there are some major areas for improvement. And I'll just give you a perfect example. You just said, I perfectly know how to read in English, write it, and listen to it. And then you said, the weird things is that in my mind, I can speak it fluently. However, when talking those ideas to a conversation, I can just pick out 8 things there in your writing that are not perfect. And you use the word perfect. I would not use the word perfect. I would say there's a lot of work there. So I would say probably you have some work to do on noticing which areas you need to improve, and getting some outside feedback there would probably be pretty useful. So I'd strongly recommend having some feedback on your writing, possibly even signing up for a few lessons, right? That can be very useful, very helpful. So something to think about for sure. Translator made some mistakes. Okay, yeah, sure, Joel. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe your writing is perfect. I don't know, but I'm just basing it on what I see there. My point is just nobody's perfect, because when I speak, people give me feedback on what I can do better, and I'm always trying to improve. Everybody is imperfect, okay? And that's a good starting point. To start with, rather than I'm perfect, to instead start with I'm imperfect. What are the issues? Someone who sees themselves as imperfect and then looks for the issues is going to improve a lot faster than someone who's exactly the same who says, I'm perfect. Because then they're not looking for any issues, if that makes sense. Okay? I want to offer promotion for your channel viewers. Chatbots. The price is lower than any competitor. What kind of chatbots? And turn it into Doge. What? Okay, there's a website there I'm not going to read out. But I did see the word Doge. It's hard to miss. It's hard to miss the word Doge. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think perfection is a good goal, but rarely attainable, you know. So let's get into our next topic. And English, that question, how can I practice speaking better, is what I'm about to talk about. So buckle up, pilgrim. We're going to get into it right now. What are the real ways to improve your English? And when I say real ways, what I mean is we get these ideas about how to improve, and they're kind of general, and they're pretty easy to do. Watch more movies. Oh, okay. Learn 25 words a day. Well, that sounds pretty intense, but maybe I could do that. Well, what are the things that really work? Now, these are things that actually most people are not going to do. We're going to talk about how to improve your English in ways that most people are unwilling to do because it's hard. It's too much work. I don't know about that. That makes me uncomfortable. So I'm only speaking to about 20% of the people here, I think. 20% of you will say, yeah, this makes sense. I'm either already doing a lot of this stuff or I'm about to start, because I'll do whatever it takes to be a good communicator. And the rest of you, well, you know, enjoy the topic, I guess. Because a lot of people just aren't willing to do the work. Right? It is work. It is work, and it's uncomfortable, and it's scary. It's all of those things. Okay? So we're going to go through it step by step. The first one is to read extensively. Now, I can already hear thoughts. I can already hear people saying, reading, it's so hard and time-consuming. How do I do it? What should I do? Right? Let's first talk about why reading is good. And then we can get into maybe how to do it and how to sort of push yourself, right? When you think of reading as the best place to discover new words, new phrases, new grammatical structures, how things are used, how is the word actually used, the context of the word or phrase, the context of the grammar. If you look at a book as your resource for learning new things, there's nothing better. Because when you're watching a movie or a TV show, it's going by too quickly. You can't fully process it usually. In conversation, same thing. It's going by too quickly. You can't fully process it. But writing, you can see it right there in front of you. I don't know that word. Now I see it. Now I see the context. Now I can try to learn it in that context. It's very, very powerful. And over time, you're going to start picking up interesting syntax, grammatical structures, naturally, as you read. But the key thing is to find reading that you actually enjoy. And that is also going to create a culture window for you. If you can find nonfiction books that you like in particular, those are going to teach you something, hopefully, and they're going to have fairly common language that's not too hard to understand. But then they're going to have all kinds of interesting grammatical structures. They're going to have different ways of phrasing things, new words you didn't know before, phrases you didn't know before. And because you're interested in the topic, it's easier to do. So that's why I call it a window. It's a window into the language because, hey, this is not so bad. I like this topic. But it's also a window into the culture. Culture is very important. We're going to get into that in a second. If you can get into the culture of the language, you become even more powerful as a communicator. You get better and better. It's really, really important. Now, the other side of this is writing. A lot of people don't want to write. A lot of people feel uncomfortable writing. But think about what writing is. Writing is output. It's structured output that forces you to create something in a thoughtful way. So if you learned a word or 10 words or some phrases or some grammar, and now you need to write an email to a colleague, or you're just writing for practice, or you have to write for something else. Maybe you're in a community and you write in a comment thread under posts. That's fine. All of that's good. That output is going to force you to put into practice the input stuff, right? We stop doing the output stuff after we graduate from university, and we say, okay, no more output based on learning. I'm just going to watch. I'm going to listen. I'm going to read. Well, what about the output? Why do teachers make us do homework? They make us do homework because they want us to get it deeply in our minds, right? So writing in English is a great way to do that. It's a great way to unlock, I could use it this way. That's very interesting. I could use this grammar to express that thought I have. The book I'm reading, I found a really interesting sentence. I like that structure that starts with a prepositional phrase. That's really interesting. I haven't used that a lot. I am now writing something. I'm going to take that same basic structure and I'm going to put it into practice. And then so you get an insight about how to use the language, and you get, of course, then, once you get used to that, a new ability. You internalize grammar. It's not just knowing it. Knowing it is one thing, that's great, but you want to burn it into your habits. You want to make it a deep habit, because when you're having a conversation, you don't want to have to be thinking about, okay, I was going to put this word order, this word goes before the other word, and then, what's the thing I learned about the present perfect tense? Should it be the present perfect tense or should I use the simple past tense? You don't have time to think about that stuff. So how do you burn it into your brain? Habits. How do you get habits? I think writing is one of the best ways to practice, honestly. So output makes things stick. Writing unlocks new abilities, things that you're learning. Input then become part of your natural abilities through output, and you learn all kinds of great grammar. Now, what about culture? I said culture, but what is the importance of culture? Why does culture matter? You may have heard me talk about this before, but I think it's very important to bear in mind that culture and language aren't separate things. If you're able to immerse yourself in a culture, you are learning the language. And when you're learning a language, whether you like it or not, you're being immersed in a culture. It's not like you can say, okay, here's language and here's culture. It's not like that. Because when we use language, we're talking within the context of a culture. We're making references to things in the culture. References to movies and TV shows. References to things that happened when we grew up, going to school. References to maybe the history of the country, right? All of the idioms and phrases are often connected to history, connected to the history of the language, right? How it developed. Why does this idiom mean that? What? Shotgun, what the heck? Why does that mean sit in the front seat? There's a reason. So it's connected. And if you commit to sort of fully immersing yourself in the culture, that, and by the way, that does not necessarily mean you have to live there. I'm not telling you have to live in the United States or Canada or something like that. You can now, the opportunity to immerse yourself in any language, culture, anywhere in the world is relatively easy because we have the internet, right? It's not that hard. So if you want to start to get some of those references, if you want to start to understand more deeply what's going on, not just the words and the phrases, but also, when I hear native speakers talking to each other, I hear the words, I understand the words, but I'm not making the connections. How are they talking to each other like that? I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, that's the references part. Right? So it's absolutely critical. So that sounds pretty daunting and scary, right? Yeah, the key there is to follow your interests. Again, just like reading. The key that's going to keep you reading is to follow your interests. The key that's going to get you into the culture is to get into the culture via your interests. So make friends, explore things that you're interested in. These can be your windows into the culture. And I think you can use anything as a window. Maybe that's video games. Maybe that's conspiracy theories, right? I've been interested recently in learning about the Ice Age and the Younger Dryas and all of these theories about ancient civilizations. I've been in the rabbit hole on this for the last few weeks. But if I was interested in that as a non-native English speaker, well, I would have learned a lot of stuff by now, and I might have had a few live conversations, which I have had actually. So it's very, very important. And also that the part about finding the window is one of the things that allows you to be consistent, because you can keep doing it because your interest is the thing that's pulling you forward, rather than, okay, I got to do the thing, and you're forcing yourself. It's probably going to be difficult to continue. Okay, now what about teachers? They play a role. Now, I'm not saying that you should get a teacher forever, but I am saying that a teacher can be a very important part of your journey to identify things that you are not aware of, okay? Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be your teacher. I'm not. But you can find a teacher, and I'll tell you what to look for when you do. You want a teacher who's able to identify things specifically. If you try a class with a teacher and they say something like, "Your speaking is pretty good. I think you need to work on your grammar," or something general like that, hang up immediately. And that's just terrible. You need the key is to be able to identify whether or not they can identify specific things. Okay, one of the main issues you have with your speaking right now is you're using the same sentence structure for almost every single sentence. Almost every sentence starts with a person, a noun, subject, and then you have the classic structure, simple sentence, and then you say another sentence. Your syntax is terrible. You need to have much more interesting sentence structure. You need to know how to learn coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions. You need to know how to start with prepositional phrases and dependent clauses. They need to be able to tell you what the issues are specifically. So find one who can do that. Maybe just take a few classes with them, 5 classes, something like that. Make that investment, because they're going to see things like a golf coach, like a tennis coach, that you aren't able to identify. It's also going to put you under some pressure, right? Having a bit of pressure from a person looking at you, evaluating you, is good if you get used to that feeling you're going to gain in confidence, right? They've also probably talked with a lot of students, so they're going to know what works pretty well for others who are in a similar situation to you. They're going to have some really good insights that might help you a lot. So being able to look at yourself objectively, once you have those insights, you can start to notice those things yourself. Sometimes they're hard to see if it's just you all by yourself all the time. So that's the potential value of having a teacher. And it's going to be difficult to find one for free, okay? Now, what about practice? Practice is obvious, right? Yeah, of course I should practice. I mean, yeah, you got to practice, duh, obviously. But I think there is a misunderstanding about what practice is. It's something that needs to become part of your life on a deeper level. And it can't just be a thing you do for 20 minutes twice a week, right? It's got to be slightly deeper. And also, I think people want to say, well, I'm going to learn first, and then I'm going to do more intense practice. First, let me learn the most common 2,000 words in the English language, and then I'm going to start doing some serious practice once I learn. So they do this sort of one-by-one approach. This is a mistake. If you keep getting ready, I'm going to do this and then I'll be ready to do the next thing. That's not how it works. Do everything all the time. If you have two strategies, one strategy is first learn vocabulary, then study grammar, then study pronunciation, then study this, right? That may be fine for an order of courses, right? Because you can't take a bunch of courses at the same time, probably. But in general, do everything all the time. Listen all the time. Watch all the time. Read all the time. Write all the time. Speak all the time. Think all the time. Do everything all the time. And don't make these lines and these sort of steps, these weird steps where you have to get ready for the next thing. That's not how language learning works. Do as much as you can all the time. Make it flow into your lifestyle so that it feels natural, right? It shouldn't be forced. It should feel natural to you. And don't see it as practice. See it as just, hey, this is the stuff I do because I want to be a better communicator in English, right? But also make connections. You need to join groups. You need to reach out to others. You need to have conversation practice. This is a perfect opportunity to connect with others. Like in the Discord group we have, it's a great place to hang out. It's a really cool place to just talk about stuff. We have debates. We make jokes. We share stuff. I really like it. I've really been enjoying it. So that would be a good place to start, maybe the Discord, but there are so many other things you can do as well. Now, I would add to this the importance of recording and having some accountability, right? So if you have a practice buddy, that's good. A practice buddy is someone who's not necessarily a native speaker, but someone who is on the same journey as you. And you say to each other, every Wednesday we're going to do an assignment, a speaking practice. We're going to give each other feedback. We're going to record these. We're going to listen back to the recordings. And this is very powerful because it creates accountability. It creates the ability to see yourself objectively by listening to the recording, right? And having that back and forth, that pressure with something like a buddy can be very, very good. So overall for practice, do everything. Practice like a maniac, but in a sort of natural way, okay? Finally, consistency is key, and I'm going to repeat myself a little bit here. What tends to happen is when people get too excited about something, they say, oh, all right, here we go, I'm going to do it. And then their excitement burns out because they get excited about something else or whatever. So you have to find something deeper than short-term excitement. It's got to be a commitment to the process, a commitment based on a feeling of deeply wanting to get better, right? And I think the key to that is combining interests with things you do anyway, right? I talked about being interested in the Ice Age, learning about that. Well, if that's something that you want to learn about anyway, then just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do that in English. By the way, I'm going to learn a lot of language, but I'm going to do it anyway in English. Force that. If it's career related, even better, right? If it can give you an advantage, even better. So where you can, do the things that you do anyway in English and allow those things that you do anyway in English to force you to be consistent. And again, as we talked about with practice, I would also recommend that you find ways to get accountability, whether that means having a buddy or maybe posting something regularly, a blog if you're working on your writing, and the people who read your blog will kind of force you to do that every week. So that's some accountability, okay? So these are the ways that you need to approach learning language, right? And I realize it's not for everybody, but this is what I have seen consistently work for people who are serious about it. You have to read. You have to write. You have to have cultural immersion. It's not just learning words. It's much deeper. Pay a teacher. Get some objective feedback. Practice like a maniac. Record yourself. Do assignments. Get a buddy. Do everything. Listen, read, write, watch, speak, think. And be consistent. Don't give up. Find things that force you to stick with it and make it part of your life. And if you do all of that, you are going to make a lot of progress, okay? If you have any questions about this, let me know. If you're interested in making my courses part of that journey, you can check those out in the links in the description. You can get a free course. That is in the links in the description as well. And a 30% discount on all of my courses with a monthly membership. So check that out if you haven't done so already. Click the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe. And again, let me know where you are in the journey. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment as well. Yeah. So I think that's kind of a condensed version of a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about for a long time. It's just important to keep in mind, because if you aren't doing everything, then you're going to find you have big gaps. It's like skipping leg day at the gym. You know, they say, don't skip leg day. Don't skip leg day, you know? Okay, let's see. Alejandro says, could you please give some hints about how to practice speaking when there's no person to talk with? There, I think doing the writing is critical, you know, or excuse me, recording is critical. You have to be able to record yourself for sure. Is direct and indirect important to be fluent in English speaking? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Mirza. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that question. Grammatically, or maybe you can be more specific. When someone asks you what your English level is, they expect you to give them an answer on how good at English you are. I've found that people are able to generally pretty good at identifying their current level if they're honest with themselves. Joel says, well, I'm a native Spanish speaker. I still don't know 100% of Spanish. Same thing with English. That's fair, but I think it's slightly, well, it depends on why they want to know that, right? But if you're just saying that for yourself, I would say, you know, there's a big difference between if you say, I'm not 100% at Spanish, but I'm also not 100% at English, then it doesn't allow you to identify any differences between those levels of fluency. Not 0 or not 100%, right? So, okay, if they're both not 0 and both not 100, that puts them on an equivalency. But if they're not actually on an equivalency, and it would be useful for you to know what's different about them, then the best policy is to just be honest with yourself and say, I'm a native Spanish speaker, but my English needs work. I'm not perfect at expressing myself. I sometimes struggle to know which tenses to use. I think my pronunciation sometimes causes misunderstandings. And I'm just pulling some examples here. There's no benefit in saying, yeah, well, I don't know Spanish 100% either. It's not, I don't know what the value in that is, right? Nobody knows English 100% either. I could say, yeah, no human being knows every English word. There are over, 400,000 English words, and nobody knows all of them. But you reach a point where I think it's called the asymptote, where you get so close that we say fluent, right? Whereas you can say anything you want to say clearly with no issues, no misunderstandings, and you know why you're doing it, you have full command of the language, then we say, okay, that's fluent. And if it's useful to you to be there, and you're not there, then it's useful to be honest that you're not there so that you can move toward it. If it's not useful for you to be there, and it feels nice to say, well, who cares? Then yeah, that's fine. I'm not here to tell anybody what anybody's goals should be. Absolutely. I'm saying if you want to be here, and you're currently here, and you're not able to be honest with yourself about where you are, then how can you make progress toward fluency? That's my question. Okay. So any questions about what I was just covering? English, is it possible to learn 2 languages at the same time, English and Spanish? Absolutely. You can learn many languages at the same time. Babies do it all the time. Is there any tool that I can integrate for speech analysis, says Aman. I think, Aman, one tool that I personally like for speech analysis is, well, it depends. If you want to self-identify and then maybe copy and paste speech, then a speech-to-text tool like Otter.ai is pretty good. I like that one. If you want a single word pronunciation analysis, then I think the Google widget is pretty good, where you just search essentially pronunciation of, and then you search a word, and then it pulls up the widget in Google, and then you can practice, and it will give you an analysis of individual word pronunciation. And then you have another one called Elsa Speak, and in Elsa Speak, they give you an analysis of larger chunks of text. So, and I think that one's paid. So any of those might be a good choice. Okay. Let's see. Combining learning with interest is another important part. As Luke said, just video games, hanging out is what I do. And Alejandro, that's great. Video games, I think that's great. Alejandro's tried to get me to play video games too, but I'm too inconsistent with my gaming. Recently, the only video game I'm playing, I have dedicated video game time in my life, right? Recently, the only video game I'm playing is Diablo 3, and it's because my wife and I like it. It's great because they have built the perfect couch co-op play mode. So we sit in our living room, and we each have a playing console, right? And their couch co-op mode is when you have 2 people playing together on the same team, right? A lot of games, they do multiplayer, but the other person has to be on a different device. But couch co-op means you're both on the same thing, playing together. The Lego games are pretty good for that. There's a great game called It Takes Two, which is good for that. But the one that we've been playing recently is Diablo 3. We're very excited for Diablo 4. But we're playing through Diablo 3 for the 3rd time. It's by Blizzard. It's a really good game, but it's really fun to play with 2 people. Not everyone likes to play that style, but that's been my pretty much my only video game for the last, I would say, month, something like that. Okay. Well, I'm going to be going through the next thing. So while I do that, I'm just going to be reviewing a couple things. I saw this video recently, and I think I'll just share it while I'm doing this thing. This is Atlas Gets a Grip from Boston Dynamics. If you don't know Boston Dynamics, they are a company that makes very, very advanced robots, and it's pretty crazy. So I'll pop that on while I'm getting the next thing ready. And if you're not able to see it, I'm sorry, but it's just basically a robot doing things that robots don't usually do.
grab my tools again.
Grabbing a board, jumping around. Ooh, that's a nice jump. Bending down to grab that looks like a tool bag. Running up the stairs. Going across the board that it put down as a bridge between the stairs and the platform. Oh, 360 throw up to the guy who needs his tools. Pushing over the box from the platform. Jumping on the box with a very natural knee bend, which is really interesting. Whoa, that was a... what is that called? I forget, there's a name for that flip, but I don't remember what it's called. That's very impressive. I think robotics, it's been for so long, just we think of it as a hobby, but it's getting real now, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with it in the next 10 years. AI and robotics, they're converging, they're coming together. And it's exciting, but it's also there's reason to be slightly scared. I don't think it's going to come together in the way that people have always talked about, being sort of evil robots running around like Terminator. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the risks are separate almost. I wonder if maybe the robots could be hijacked, their systems could be hijacked, and then they could be used for really scary things, but controlled by an evil actor. And then on the other side, with AI, that AI being so advanced that it develops its own set of principles and ethics, and you have, I think it's Nick Bostrom's idea of the paperclip maximizer that just says, oh yeah, all I want to do is make paperclips. But in order to just make as many paperclips as possible, I need to shred the Milky Way galaxy into its component parts and then turn everything into paperclips. So it may be developing a goal that we're not aware of, that we don't understand, and then just executing on that goal, which is concerning on its own. But then it would probably use other means other than robot arms and machine guns to achieve that. It probably would be manipulating the markets and allocating resources and turning things on and off, access to things. I mean, it could do a lot of damage. There's a really good book called Life 3.0, I think is what it's called, by is it Avi Loeb? I can't remember the author of that book for a second. I forgot the name of the author. But anyway, that book covers in the very beginning a scenario, realistic, I think, scenario for what could happen with super intelligent AI. What is the best game? I think that's tough to say. The best game of all time, it's so difficult to answer the best game of all time question because it's so biased by nostalgia. So I want to say that the best game of all time is Mario 64. That's what I want to say. But I know that me saying that is deeply connected to the fact that that's a game that I grew up with. And so I have a natural bias toward it because of nostalgia. So, but then you go to the other side and say, no, objectively, what's the best game? The best story, the best graphics, the best play experience, the most realism. What's the best game? Well, if that's the standard, then maybe it's Elden Ring. But when I play Elden Ring, I don't feel nice. I feel sad. I feel alone. I feel scared. I feel that I'm in danger all the time. I feel I have no one around me to help me with anything. It's very isolating. And so when I'm done playing Elden Ring, I don't feel good. So then, okay, we don't use that as the best. So then if we say, okay, the best game is the game that's the most fun, then we're in complete subjectivity land, and everyone has their own opinion. I think the most fun game to play right now, personal opinion, is Fortnite. I think Fortnite is actually a really fun game because they know how to bring in interesting IPs. They know how to constantly keep the game fresh. The gameplay experience is really clean. It's so simple. Every game is pretty much the same, but you're getting better. You're working on your own skills. And it's a combination of excitement because you're fighting against real people, but also it's relaxing because you know if you get killed, you can just do it again. So for that reason, I think that's the best game. But that's just me. So, it's very hard to say. Very difficult to say, I would say. I think best game of all time, that's a tough one, though. Nostalgically, I do want to say it's Mario 64 or maybe Smash Brothers. Super Mario Smash Brothers is, in my view, a super fun game. Or that's the game I grew up on. Smash Brothers and Mario 64. Super Mario 64. But then I tried playing Super Mario 64 not that long ago, and I thought, this isn't that fun. I don't like this that much. It's not that great. So I don't know. The answer to your question is, I don't know. What do you think? What's your opinion about that? What do you think the best game is? Okay. Well, let's get into some idioms, shall we, on this Friday? Again, it's great to have everyone here. Those listening, welcome. It's great to have you listening. I know you're not listening live, but it's been great to know that people enjoy listening. I will continue that. But, if you have any feedback on what could be better in terms of the audio experience, please provide feedback. Email me. Let me know what you think. To those who are watching, if you ever want to listen, there's a link in the description. You can find in that link any platform that you might want to use, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching the video, I would generally recommend watching on YouTube, but Facebook is also available, and even Twitch, believe it or not. And if you want to support, the best thing to do would be when you see a video go up, hit the like button, maybe leave a comment. That would be fantastic. And for these, like, subscribe so that you can see future videos come out. Make sure you hit the bell thing so that you get notifications. And I did mention at the start, but there is a free course that you can take. It's called Natural English Conversations. That's in the link in the description. So check that out. That's a 1-hour course that talks about exactly what it says, Natural English Conversations. Then, if you want to sort of get more serious and access more of the courses, you can do that with a monthly membership. And that's 30% off every month for the first 12 months. So that should be in the link in the description too, right? Okay. Oh, and the Discord. We have a pretty cool Discord community that's really starting to sort of slowly grow and build, and it's a very natural place to hang out. I think I really like it, so you can check that out. The Discord is free. You can join. It's free. I'm not guaranteeing that it will always be free, always and forever. But for now, it is free to join. Anybody can join the Discord community. The only rule in the Discord is to be cool, which means don't not be cool. Don't be not cool. Don't be uncool. Don't be weird. How much are the courses? I think it's... Well, you have to check. I forget the exact amount right now. All right. Oh, I see we've got a few new people joining, which is great. New people joining the Discord all the time. Fantastic. Okay. Let's hop over to the Blackboard, shall we? I'm going to adjust something here so that I can see it a little bit better. Okay. So we're going to be talking about English idioms that you can use to talk about ideas. Now, not all of these use the word idea, but we're talking about getting an idea, having an idea as a thing in itself, right? We're going to get into this and explore it a little bit. As we go through these, what I would like you to do is think about how to use them. The best way to learn something is to immediately put it into practice. So I'm going to try to give you a bit of context. I'm going to give you explanations. I'm going to say what it means, right? How it's usually used. We'll talk about some examples, but then I want you to try it yourself. You can pop that in the comments. The best thing to do is just write an example yourself and see, do I get this? Do I understand this? Okay? So let's start. Our first one is an idea whose time has come. You'll hear people say this. Oh, I believe that's an idea whose time has come. Turning my opacity to 100% is an idea whose time has come. Now, to simplify this grammatically, let's just say the time has come. That's essentially like saying this is a good time for, right? This is a good time for what? This is a good time for breakfast. This is a good time for dinner. This is a good time for a movie. This is a good time to talk about that. This is not a good time to talk about that. But an idea whose time has come feels like it's due, and this idea has been around for a long time, but it hasn't really gained popularity. People haven't grabbed onto it yet. It's been around for a long time, but now it has reached a point where it can become popular. You know, if you think about AI, for example, well, people have been talking about and working on AI for a long time. In the 90s, people were talking about it. I recently read a paper from Nick Bostrom decades ago about what was going to happen in AI. But the technology wasn't there yet. So there were a lot of ideas and people working on it, but it wasn't the right time for it to really become powerful. But you could say now, AI is an idea whose time has come. Now we're starting to see really good applications of AI, right? So it's used in particular to describe an idea that is particularly well suited to the current situation or that is gaining widespread acceptance. So people are now saying, yes, okay, this has been around for a while, but now finally I think this is the right time for that. So for example, this new technology, AI, is an idea whose time has come. The idea of electric cars is an idea whose time has come. Okay, and that means now people are willing to actually get excited about it and take it on. Okay? So that's a simple one, I think. Once you know the meaning, it's pretty straightforward to use. What is a half-baked idea? A half-baked idea. Okay, well, what would you guess? Let me give you an example maybe, and then you can see if you can guess the meaning. That's a half-baked idea. We need to do a lot more research before I think we can really proceed with this, okay? So if someone tells you what they think about something and they're very excited about it, But as soon as you start to ask questions, everyone realizes that maybe it won't work. It's not the best thing. There are a lot of holes. There are a lot of problems with it. Maybe it's half-baked. Often half-baked is used to describe ideas that aren't supported with real serious work, a lot of thinking that have been fully developed, fully considered, right? And so you could say, right, that I'm going to use the tech analogy, in the early days of the internet, everyone was excited. There was a lot of hype around the internet, a lot of .coms starting. And people thought this is an idea whose time has come. But there was so much excitement, it created a kind of bubble. And so it was very easy at that time for companies to get funded for huge amounts of money, even though many of the ideas themselves were half-baked. So when the bubble popped, there was this big bubble where everyone is really excited, there's a lot of hype around it. People started to realize, actually, a lot of these ideas are stupid. 80% of these are not going to work. The bubble popped because it turned out a lot of the businesses that were starting at the time were based on half-baked ideas. Now, a few were not, and they became very successful. A perfect example would be Amazon. So Amazon was not a half-baked idea. Very clear strategy, great planning, and it was able to survive through the crash of the dot-com bubble, right? So the half-baked idea is just a way to talk about something that's it's just not really well developed. It hasn't been deeply considered, deeply thought about, okay? Now we're going to be doing 6 of these. We've done 2 so far. We've done an idea whose time has come, half-baked idea. Now what about a stroke of genius? A stroke of genius. Now, this has nothing to do with having a stroke, okay? So put that idea out of your mind. A stroke of genius means that you get this sudden flash, and maybe you don't know where it comes from, or you get this inspiration to solve a problem, and you were stuck on it for weeks, and now you know the answer. And it doesn't have to be absolutely sudden, but it usually is a big and important thing that fixes it or causes a breakthrough. And it could be used in daily life, right? I recently used this when I was making waffles. So nothing world-changing about waffles. But I realized, I thought, hold on a second. We don't have any maple syrup for the waffles. That's a problem because dry waffles are gross. Well, they're not gross, but it's different. I want to have maple syrup on my waffles, right? That's when I had a stroke of genius. I realized that I did have honey and I had some other ingredients that I could use, including maple flavoring for a cocktail thing I have. There's some cocktails and there's some maple flavoring for that. And I thought, wait a second, what if I actually mixed some of the maple flavoring with honey? I should make my own maple syrup. It's not going to taste exactly the same, but what if it's good? I tried it. It worked. I mean, it didn't taste exactly like maple syrup, but it was pretty good. So I had their stroke of genius. Now, it doesn't have to be a flash or sudden realization, but the key is that it solves something, right? It's an idiom used to describe an idea that is particularly clever or original. So the emphasis is not on its suddenness necessarily. It's on how clever it is, right? That was a stroke of genius. I never would have thought of that. Whoa, honey and maple flavoring? Crazy. I never would have thought of that. A stroke of genius, okay? I mean, it's usually used for more important things than waffles. But waffles are important. And if you say waffles are not important, I can't take you seriously. Waffles are very, very important, I would say. How could you not think that, right? How could you not? Now, sometimes we get things that are a little more sudden, right? An idea that's good, that's clever, but that comes suddenly. This is where we might say a light bulb. Let me write this as one word. A light bulb moment. And sometimes we also say, and this is going to be our other one, so let's say these are two separate ones, a eureka moment. Okay, so we have a light bulb moment and a eureka moment. And let's say these are pretty much the same. A light bulb moment, this is used to describe an idea or insight, maybe clever, that suddenly comes to mind. Whew. Oh, suddenly occurs to you. The emphasis is not on that it's clever. It is, of course, probably. But it's that it suddenly comes like a flash of lightning, like being struck, right? Oh, I was trying to think of a way to improve our product, and then I had a light bulb moment. A light bulb moment and came up with the perfect solution. I had a light bulb moment. So light bulb here is being used as an adjective. And it's also being used here as an adjective. And this is the noun. This is the noun. Okay? Whoa. Something suddenly occurs to you. Same thing for eureka moment. I think the difference between a light bulb moment and a eureka moment may be simply in the, let's say the connotation, the way it feels to say it, right? It often feels more like the excitement around it rather than the suddenness of it. It is sudden, right? It's used to describe an idea or insight that comes to mind, to your brain, suddenly and unexpectedly. Out of the blue, we could say. Out of the blue. That's another idiom. And in that sense, it's the same as the light bulb moment, but the eureka moment is the feeling of excitement that accompanies the light bulb moment. And again, they're the same, it's just a different emphasis. You get a light bulb moment, you just got it, but it doesn't tell me how you feel. A eureka moment is sort of that, whoa, I just got a great idea thing, right? I believe it comes from the story of Archimedes, who he was thinking about a problem for a long time, and then he was in a bathtub. He jumped out of his bathtub, and he started just shouting, Eureka! 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 Right? So you were working on something, and then you had, just like this, a eureka moment. Now, we do, when we have these realizations, just say Eureka. Sometimes you can yell out, Eureka, when you have that sudden flash of insight, right? I could have said that about my waffles, I suppose, but nah. I don't know. All right, one more. And this last one that we're going to talk about is also common, but it's a different relationship between the person and the idea. And this is a brain child. A brainchild. A brainchild? That happens to Zeus while we're on the subject. Zeus has a brainchild, and the brainchild of Zeus is Athena. The goddess Athena is born from his head and represents part of his intellect. So that's technically a brainchild. So generally, brainchild is used to talk about an idea, maybe an invention, a project that someone really cares about, not just an idea, but maybe an actual project that's happening or a thing that's being made, but it's based on an idea, right? That is the result of usually one person's specific creativity, right? And so we're focusing on the fact that this person is special and they created this special thing. It's their brainchild. Now, it can be used in a negative or positive sense. Like if a team is working on something, but if it's one person's brainchild, then that can create some awkwardness because they feel like they should have total control, but actually it would be better if a group of people were all just working on it. Yes, but it's my brainchild. Well, we might say it's his brainchild, so he feels like he's the one who should be in charge. Actually, just because he thought of the idea doesn't mean necessarily he has all of the best solutions for how we actually make this thing, right? But sometimes it can be used in a positive way to really just create a relationship between the thing, the idea, the project that's based on the idea, and the person. And usually there's this relationship of, it's special to me. I care about it. It's important, this project. I love it in a way. So that's usually how it's used. So this product is my brainchild. I came up with the idea. I developed it. Now, I don't know if you would say that, but if you want to make it clear that it's important to you, you wouldn't just say, I did this, I made this. You would say it's my brainchild. And that could come across as somewhat arrogant sometimes, but it can also tell people that it's very important to you, right? This channel, it's my brainchild. It is very important to me. I created it. I want it to do well, and I want it to be useful. It's my brainchild. I don't say that with arrogance. I'm just telling you my relationship with that, okay? So, the best thing you can do at this point is to take these and put them in your own examples. I gave you examples and explanations for each one. What you can now do is try them. Output is the key to actually learning, because if you have output, it kind of burns it into your brain. It's like doing homework, right? And it makes it a habit. That way, when you're having a conversation, you don't need to think too much about, what was that phrase? A flash of brain, what was that? You don't have to do that because you've already practiced it a few times. You've made 2, 3, 4 examples, and that's what makes it a habit. Okay, so we talked about a brainchild. Let me fix that. We talked about a brainchild. We talked about a eureka moment, as well as the light bulb. And we'll just put those side by side. The light bulb moment. And you do have to use moment. You can't use second or something like that. We talked about a stroke of genius. A stroke of genius. We talked about a half-baked idea. And we talked about an idea whose time has come. And I feel that all of these are relatively easy to use. But if you have any questions about any of them, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to read the examples that you have, try it out, see if you can use it. Again, I'd love to see your examples. If you haven't already done so, you can hit the like button, subscribe or follow, and also you can get a free course in the links in the description. That course is Natural English Conversations. Master Native English is another course. Natural English Conversations. Grab that free course. That is in the links in the description. Okay. Ideas. 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 Okay, friends and neighbors. Well, I do have one other thing I want to go over. We'll get into the World Economic Forum. I think I've given all of the updates, but if you've been thinking about joining the Discord, now's probably a good time to do it. I cannot guarantee that the Discord is going to be free all the time. I think there's probably a 31% chance that it will not be. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't have any grand plans or anything like that. I'm just saying, things don't stay the same all the time, right? I'm going to quickly share this while we're live because I forgot to do that. So give me 1 second, and then I want to look at something else. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay. Let's hop over here. And I want to look at what's going on in Davos. The World Economic Forum is going on. And you may have opinions about it. I honestly don't really have that many opinions about it, but I've heard about this great reset thing. What I'd like to do is learn from a video.
The pandemic has
It's relatively short, okay? It's 4 minutes long, and we're going to just pick out a few words from it and learn them in context. And if you have questions about it, let me know, okay? Let me know. We're going to take a look at a video about the Great Reset, which is from the World Economic Forum. Now we're going to be learning from this video. So the key there is to be looking at the context. We're going to keep a word bank. That means we're going to be sort of writing down words, what they mean, and we're going to kind of build up a knowledge bank of words that hopefully then you can start using because you learned them in context. If you're going to watch videos and learn words and phrases from videos, this is the way you do it. You go through it, pay attention to the context, you listen carefully, you have to work on your listening. I recommend not using subtitles to really hone your listening, right? That's why I have headphones on, so that I can hone my listening. And then you pick out things. You don't have to pick out everything. Let's say you pick out 10 things from each video. We're going to watch a 4-minute video, okay? Pick out 10, and that's enough. But don't overdo it. Don't kill yourself. It should be, hopefully it's fun. I think it should be, it's supposed to be a kind of fun process. But let's see how it goes. We're going to hop over here to the, it looks like a virus with some pins stuck in it. Interesting. All right, let's get started, and then we're also going to be hopping over here to the, let's call it our word bank over here. Okay, we're going to be then looking at words from the video. That's what we'll store them. So we'll be building this up throughout. Okay.
Quickly change the.
It's a little loud. Is it just too loud for me, or is it too loud? Let me see the levels
world
here.
as we know it, and the actions we take today as we work to recover will define our generation.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic.
this from this year? Which year is this from? Oh, this is 1 year ago. All right. That's good to know.
Environmental and societal frailties have been laid bare. But it's also proved
Hear
that
that?
when we need to, we can.
About this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic, environmental, and societal frailties have been laid bare.
Economic, societal frailties have been laid bare. All right. And you know what? We might also be using ChatGPT a little bit as a way to look up things. I think now this might become the best way to look up things, is to use ChatGPT. But let's store that one in our word bank. And again, to do that, we go to ChatGPT, and we search something like let's see if it can do a whole phrase. What does frailties laid bare, not bare, bare, mean? Oh. Model is not compatible. You requested a model that is not compatible with this engine. What? Okay, let's try this again. What does frailties mean? Just do one at a time. Okay, come on, ChatGPT. The word frailties refers to a state or condition of being weak, delicate, or susceptible to failure or breakdown. It can also refer to the weaknesses or vulnerabilities of a person, such as moral or emotional weakness. In general, it is used to describe any aspect of something or someone that is weak or imperfect. That's pretty good. So, laid bare, I'll just tell you, to something is laid bare, it is made open for everyone to see. The issues were there. Frailties means weakness, being in a weak condition, and it was there before, but it was COVID that laid it bare. That means sort of opened it up and said, hey, look how frail it is. It revealed how frail it was. So that's how usually laid bare is used. Let's go over to our word bank and write frailties and laid bare. Okay? I'm just out of pure curiosity, okay? I want to see, what does laid bare mean? All right, let's see what we get. ChatGPT. Come on, ChatGPT. To be laid bare means to be exposed or revealed completely, often in a way that is unexpected or difficult. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, ChatGPT. Thank you, ChatGPT. All right. Back to the video. Back to the video, shall we? Oh, I'm already here. I just need to change tabs. Confused myself. Here we go.
But it's also proved that when we need to, we can act rapidly and restructure our lives.
Recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
Okay. Rays of hope. Now, that gets tough when you've got different accents. Okay, so I want you to listen for rays of hope and bailout.
We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
Okay. I'm not making any comment about what these people are saying, all right? So, rays of hope, rays, oops, I'm going to make this optional, ray of hope. And so this is sort of, a ray is the lines from the sun that you see. These are the sun's rays. Of what? Of hope. So you can get a glimmer of the possible future, right? There were no rays of hope. Everything seemed pointless, and there was no chance that we could succeed. There wasn't a single ray of hope. You can have a single ray of hope. Not a single one. Bleak. Desperate. Okay? And then the other one is, what's the one that he said? There's no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout. Okay. So now let's ask, okay, can you explain what a bailout is? Come on, ChatGPT. Come on, ChatGPT. A bailout is a financial term that refers to a situation in which a government, central bank, or other entity provides financial assistance to a struggling business. Okay, so there's something that's struggling, and we help it with government support. The goal of a bailout is to stabilize the business or industry in question and prevent the failure. So we're taking economic language, and we're using that economic language to now talk about nature. So nature is getting a loan, 5.99% interest. Pay it back or file bankruptcy, nature. Get your act together. Come on, nature. Nature, your credit's not good enough. Your interest rate's going to be a little bit higher, 7.3% interest, because you have bad credit. Nature, we're coming to repossess your trees because you haven't been making your payments. Nature, come on, nature. Okay, so it's just being used. This thing is being used in a slightly different way. A bailout, which is usually used economically, is now being used to talk about nature. It's a bit of an extended metaphor, but a bailout. And I would make it clear that this is one word as a noun, but if it's used as a verb, then it would be to bail out the banks. To bail out nature would be two words. That's how phrasal verbs work. Now, this fundamentally goes back to boats, okay? If you have water entering your boat, gushing into your boat, you have a bucket, and you bail the water out of the boat, the bottom of the boat, so that you don't sink. You gotta bail it out. Got to bail it out. Okay. Moving along.
You don't want to go back to the status quo that you had before simply because it was the status quo that got us here.
With everything falling apart, we can reshape the world in ways we couldn't before. Ways that better address so many of the challenges we face. And that's why so many are calling for a great reset. A great reset? That sounds more like buzzword bingo masking some nefarious plan for world domination.
I'm not going to write down buzzword bingo, but it's used in a negative sense. Buzzword is a popular word that people are using. Bingo is a game where you have to get a sort of line across or down and then you win. Buzzword bingo is a critical way to talk about, hey, you're just throwing out a bunch of popular words and it doesn't really make a lot of sense in this context. That's just buzzword bingo, sort of criticizing someone.
Hands up, this kind of slogan hasn't gone down well. But all we really want to say is that we all have an opportunity.
Oh, okay. It hasn't gone down well. Listen to that. Listen to that. We're going to write that down.
For a great reset. A great reset? That sounds more like buzzword bingo masking some nefarious plan for world domination.
Nefarious plans for world domination. Let's write down nefarious
Bingo
too.
masking some nefarious plan for world domination. Hands up, this kind of slogan hasn't gone down well.
Okay. So we have the Great Reset is this idea from the World Economic Forum, and it sounds like a nefarious plan, and it hasn't gone down well. All right, so let's learn these. Let's learn nefarious. And it gone, went down well. Okay? And why don't we just quickly, I want to see if we can learn from tools here. What does go down well mean? Let's see. I'm not even using question marks. I'm really trying to challenge ChatGPT. The phrase go down well means to be received or accepted, positively or favorably. It is often used to describe a situation in which something such as a proposal, a joke, a speech, or performance is not met with approval or applause. It can also be used more generally to describe something that is successful or pleasing to others. Hey, how was your proposal yesterday? I think it went down really well. Hey, you were doing a job interview, right? Yeah, how'd it go? Well, I'm not sure yet, but I think my presentation that I did went down really well. Oh, cool. What about that new policy? Is it popular? No, the policy has not gone down well. People don't like it. People do not accept it. So you can say it isn't going down well, it hasn't gone down well, it didn't go down well, it did go down well, to go down well. Don't think too much about why is it down, what does that mean? Don't think too much about it, right? Okay, and then nefarious, what does nefarious mean, huh? Nefarious means it's evil, it's bad intentions, dark. The word nefarious is an adjective that means wicked, evil, or morally corrupt. It is useful to describe actions, intentions, or people that are considered to be morally wrong or harmful. Nefarious activities are typically considered to be illegal or unethical. For example, a nefarious scheme would be a plan to do something illegal or immoral. Okay, so it's an adjective. It's a nefarious people, nefarious plan, nefarious scheme, nefarious plot. It's bad. It's negative. It's dark. It's evil. Okay, so let's go. Let's continue. So far what have we got so far? Okay, in our bank we've got frailties, remember weakness, something is laid bare or exposed, open. Rays of hope, it's like the sunshine, but we can have a single ray of hope or no rays of hope. We have a bailout, used here to talk about nature, nefarious, and to go, gone, or went down well. I think it will go down well. I think it hasn't gone down well. I think it went down well. All of those, okay? Okay.
But all we really want to say is that we all have an opportunity to build a better world. And it's not surprising that people who've been disenfranchised by a broken system and pushed even further by the pandemic will suspect global leaders of conspiracy. But the world's not that simple. Every one of us has differing priorities, values, and ideas. That's part of why solutions are so hard to come by, and why we all need to be involved in the decision-making. Because whether it's politicians, CEOs, academics, activists, or you, we're all about getting people together, even those you may not like, to sit down at the table and develop solutions that work for all of us. But
we need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work. That trust is hard to come by.
They've used come by twice. It's hard to come by. She uses it earlier.
every one of us has differing priorities, values, and ideas. That's part of why solutions are so hard to come by.
Solutions are hard to come by. And then now this guy is saying,
trust is hard to come.
Trust is hard to come by. So what does come by mean? And often it's hard to come by. Well, okay. That's good. Let's put that one in here. Easy, hard to, I'm going to draw a line around here, okay, to come by. So if something is easy to come by, you don't need to look far to see it, right? And that could be a physical definition, or it could be non-physical. You could say, oh yeah, people who believe that the government has evil, nefarious plans and faked the moon landing are easy to come by. So that means there are a lot of people who have conspiracy theories. I'm not saying if they're right or wrong, but yeah, there are a lot of people with those theories of the government faked the moon landing and they did 9/11 and all of that stuff. It's not hard to come by someone who believes those things. At least around me, I know a lot of people think that, okay? But if something is hard to come by, then we're talking about a person, we're talking about an idea, we're talking about a thing that is kind of rare. That's all it means. It means it's kind of rare. If it's hard to come by, it's kind of rare. So a really good world-changing idea is hard to come by. It's hard to discover that. It's hard to find that. If you're the one trying to make it, come up with it, then it's not rare. It's just that it's very difficult to think of that. But if you're the one looking for ideas, then it's rare. It's difficult to find that because they're not common. He's saying trust is hard to come by. Once you break people's trust, it's very difficult to get their trust back again, right? So trust is hard to come by, meaning, okay, well, if you tell people that they have to wear masks all the time and stay indoors, and then later they find out maybe the masks weren't that useful and staying indoors didn't really help that much either. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. Then people may lose trust in who's telling them that, and then they can say that trust is hard to come by. Although this guy I would trust, I think. The guy who's speaking here. I would trust this guy with my life, for sure.
It's time for people to work together, listen to each other, and build this trust so we can move towards a better world.
In space. Build trust in space.
And we really need one. Because while the pandemic affects us all, it's clear it affects some more than others.
The first people who are hit are the people at the front, those who are vulnerable. It is those on the front line who take it first, and that is simply unacceptable.
See, at the start of 2020, 1% of the world's population owned 44% of the wealth. And since the start of the pandemic...
That is, by the way, crazy. 44% of the wealth is owned by 1% of the population. Is that what that was? That's crazy.
Of the world's population owned 44% of the wealth.
That's
and
a
since
lot.
the start of the pandemic, billionaires have increased theirs by more than 25%, whilst 150 million people fell back into extreme poverty. And with climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic, the message from 2020...
Okay, let's catch some language here. With climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic. Okay, let's listen to that again.
150 million people fell back into extreme poverty. And with climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic.
With climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic. That's kind of a complicated set of ideas there, right? So dwarf, I'll write it down and then we'll look into it. And I know sometimes I'm using ChatGPT, sometimes I'm not. We're just trying to mix it up. But trust me, I know all of these, okay? I'm not using ChatGPT because I don't know. I'm showing you that there's a process for looking stuff up. I want to show you how, not just tell you. Dwarf. So the damage from climate change will dwarf, verb, the damage of the pandemic. So you have two things. Here's climate change. Here's the pandemic. There are two of them. Which one? This pandemic is here. And this is how much damage it did. And here is climate change. And look how much bigger it is. And compared to this big thing, this is small. So the damage of COVID will be very small compared to the damage of climate change, according to what they're saying. So instead of saying that, the damage of climate change will be much more than the damage caused by COVID-19, we can instead just say it will dwarf it. Simple verb to use, just to say, by comparison, it will make that look much smaller. So it's all about relationships and comparison, okay? And it's all about size. You can't say that if you're talking about adjectives unrelated to size, it's not very useful. You know, size, not just physical size. You could say, my intellect dwarfs yours, or yours dwarfs mine. Then okay, that's still kind of a size thing, right? But, and this is the damage done also dwarfs is kind of a size thing. You know, you wouldn't just be able to talk about one thing being more than another, right? It's a wide difference between the two. It's not a small margin. If there's a small difference between them, then don't use dwarf, right? Don't use dwarf, okay? I guess we don't need ChatGPT. Well, all right, let's just do it for fun. Can you tell me what the verb dwarf means? The verb dwarf means to make something appear small or insignificant in comparison to something else. It can also mean to take something less powerful or less important than it once was, or to make something less powerful or less important than it once was. That's not so common. For example, the new technology that dwarfs the previous one means that the new technology is much better, faster. Yeah, you could say that. That works. Okay.
The message from 2020 should be abundantly clear.
Capitalism as we know it is dead.
Capitalism as we know it is dead.
This obsession that we have had with maximizing profits for shareholders alone has led to incredible inequality and a planetary emergency.
But no one can do this alone, and top-down approaches won't get us anywhere, because everything we've learned in our work has shown us that diverse voices lead to better results. And it's for these reasons that the forum talks about something called stakeholder capitalism, which would shift businesses away from just profit. Because
if we want to change where the focus of our recovery will go, then we need a new dashboard for the new economy. And that needs to encompass people,
How did they put her in the mountains like that?
And institutions.
Giving people a real
listen
we've
for
learned in our work
Encompass.
has shown us that diverse voices lead to better results. And it's for these reasons that the forum talks about something called stakeholder capitalism.
I don't want that. Wait a second. I don't want that dog in charge of anything. They're showing me diversity here, and I think that's fantastic. But I don't want a dog running a government agency.
No one
Okay, I'm
can
looking
do
at
this
this
alone,
picture here.
And top-down approaches won't get us anywhere.
Okay, top-down approaches won't get us anywhere. Okay, maybe so.
Because everything we've learned in our work has shown us that diverse voices
Diverse voices. I'm in favor of that. That's great. Lots of diversity.
lead to better results.
So diversity leads to better results. We see lots of different people from different backgrounds. Apparently, Mark Zuckerberg counts as diversity.
And it's for these reasons that the forum...
But that dog, okay? I don't want the dog to be in charge of anything. That scares me, okay? I draw the line at that because I don't think dogs are intelligent enough to make policies that are going to shape the world. So I don't know what message they're trying to send here. The lady, she can do it, but if it's the dog making the decisions, I'm not on board, okay? I'm just going to make my stance clear on that. Okay. I'm looking at this and something sticks out, okay? You've got King Charles. He was Prince Charles, now King Charles. And then below him, his first son, Prince... What's his name? Prince whatever. Harry's the little one, and then this one is Bringus or whatever his name is. I can't remember his name. Baldy and the king, these two are in the same picture? Not so diverse. Okay, I don't know. Mark Zuckerberg is there. I don't know. I have questions about this picture. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, what were we listening for? There's a
talks
word.
About something called stakeholder capitalism, which would shift businesses away from just profit. Because
if we want to change where the focus of our recovery will go, then we need a new dashboard for the new economy. And that needs to encompass people, planet, prosperity, and institutions.
Giving people a real stake in the economy.
Okay, encompass is a great word. This is a really useful word, and I want to talk about it. We're getting close to the end of this, so if this is, painful for you, well, why are you here? But encompass. Can you explain the word encompass and give me a few example sentences? Okay. Examples sentences. Oops. Okay, well. Come on, ChatGPT. Come on, you can do it. ChatGPT, let's go. Come on. I know you're having server problems right now and there's overload, but I believe in you. The word encompass is a verb that means to include or comprise many things within a larger whole. To encompass is to surround or include something entirely. Okay. Surround or include something entirely. To hold or comprise within a larger group, area, or scope, it can be used to express an idea that something encompasses all aspects of something else. Examples: the study encompasses all aspects of the industry. The new law encompasses stricter regulations. The company's mission statement encompasses a commitment to sustainability. The book encompasses a wide range of historical events. The festival encompasses a variety of musical genres. Okay, so to encompass is sort of like hold within it a larger thing, a container holding within it other things. And so if you're talking about the scale or size of something, you can use this problem that we're working on encompasses 6 other things. Okay, this problem we're working on is sustainability, and the things inside of this include maybe food production, temperature changes, energy production. So those are the things that this one issue encompasses. And it's not used for very ordinary things. For example, you would not say, the cup encompasses the coffee, right? We use it to talk about concepts, ideas, problems. Usually we're talking about non-physical things, I think, right? Otherwise we might use contain, sometimes surround. But for the cup, it's an ordinary object. It's a container. You can see it. You can touch it. You can make a dinging sound. But if we're talking about activities, if we're talking about ideas, if we're talking about concepts, encompass is a great way to describe the container, if that makes sense. Okay? We got to put it in our list. I mean, here's our bank here. We're going to review it at the end, but we're getting close here. Encompass. Okay, that's a verb. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's good. I said 10, right? Getting there, folks. Getting there.
And putting well-being before growth. And that's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time.
We must rebuild our relationship with nature.
I like how she talks. That's cool accent. I like it.
And that's all about getting
that's a unique accent. I haven't heard that a lot. I like that.
Right people in the right place at the right time.
We must rebuild our relationship.
Ah, so cool.
With nature for
nature. Whoa, awesome.
The survival of the peoples and our planet.
We have a window of time which is closing, and we need everybody who cares.
Jane Goodall? Jane Goodall is the chimp lady.
To get together and find solutions now.
It's the people who have great ideas and who share them with others. They're the ones who are shaping the future. So if you want to be a part of the change, then tune in, turn on, and get involved.
Tune in, turn on, drop out. I think that's a play on another quote from, who said that? The name escapes me at the moment.
Follow the Davos agenda.
That sounds nefarious. The Davos agenda. That sounds like a world. They're trying to fix their reputation because Davos has this reputation of billionaires and people with power. They want to just control the world, and they're trying to get this message out there that that's not what they really think. I don't have an opinion too much, but it's driving me crazy that I can't think of who said that. Anyway, you know what? I think we're going to call it at 9. So feel free to watch the video if you want to. We talked about frailties or weaknesses, things being laid bare or exposed, rays of hope or a ray of hope, no rays of hope, a bailout when someone needs help economically, emotionally, or to talk about something as an analogy like nature, like the planet, nefarious, a dark and evil plan, bad intentions, morally corrupt intentions. Something goes down or went down or it will go down, that is how it is received by others. If it went down, well, I should say went down well. If it goes down, that's actually by itself a little different. To go down is just, it happens. Or a big thing is happening. Yeah, it's going down now. Usually there's a little risk or danger involved. But if it goes down well or it doesn't go down well, that's how it's received, right? How other people see it. To encompass is to surround, but not to talk about, not to talk about coffee, but often to talk about concepts. Sometimes it could be used physically. You could say that maybe a continent encompasses, and then if you're talking about really big features, sometimes encompass is used. It is occasionally used for physical things. Usually we're talking about concepts, ideas, problems, challenges, periods of time, right? The 18th century encompassed radical change in transportation technology, for example, right? To dwarf something as a verb is to make other things look small by comparison, but it could be in its capabilities, it could be in its physical size, it could be in its importance, in some sense, the scale of it, right? And then easy or hard to come by, is it rare or not? Is it very difficult to find that or not hard to find that? To come by just means to find that, and it emphasizes how rare or not rare it is. So that's it. Now, we did learn some stuff together, but you can keep doing this with any video you choose. I'm not telling you to find every single word or phrase you don't know. Pick out a few, 9, 10. 9 is a good number. And then use a tool like ChatGPT to get examples. I love the back and forth nature of ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT to get examples. Ask for definitions, ask for context, ask follow-up questions, ask for multiple uses. If you want to use a traditional dictionary, the free dictionary is really good. Practice this and share what you come up with. I'd love to see that. Pop that in the comments. If you'd like, you can get a free course. If you want to keep learning seriously, you can get a free course. That is in the links in the description. Natural English Conversations. Also, if you want, you can get access to all of my courses. That is also in the links in the description for 30% off for the first 12 months if you do the monthly plan. And if you want to support, leave a comment and subscribe or follow. Also hit the like button or the thumbs up, whatever you see there. That would be great. And again, look forward to seeing your examples. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Okie dokie. That was fun. That was more fun than usual for me. I mean, I thought it was a dynamic video. It was kind of interesting to use. Okay. Well, I think we're going to call it a day, everyone. It's time. It's time. Today's podcast has encompassed many ideas and topics, themes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. If you have any feedback for me, let me know. Check out the Discord. Join that. It's free for the moment. The links, you can check those out. That's in the description, all of that stuff. Reach out if you have any feedback. If you want to listen, you can check out the links for that. If you'd like to listen to the audio version, all that stuff. I just launched a presentations course. You can get that right now on Udemy, okay? Go to Udemy, search me, Luke Pretty, and you will see my courses there. One of those is my presentations course. Or you can click on the link in the description, my courses, and there you can get a link to the courses, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you have some great plans. I hope you have fun. I will see you next week. Look out for new videos. And if there are any other things you want me to cover in the future, just let me know. Good luck with your practice. Good luck working on your English and doing whatever it is that you're planning on doing this weekend or whenever. That's a very general statement. Thanks a lot. See you next time.